appreciate your time. Just as an order of business, I think we'd really like to keep things as short as possible, as efficient as possible, which is why we have our reports available on the website. We're not going to have people standing up, reading long reports, repeating the information that has been available.
Do you want me to go get the microphone?
Fine, can you hear?
Maybe you need to ask for them to switch on. I'm going to show them that I'll get the microphone. You can keep talking. Sure.
It helps me to project, I shall do so from here. If a meter makes much of a difference to you. Yes? Everyone happy?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Right, fans. Right, so in terms of our order of business, just once again, thank you, welcome everyone. And thank you specifically as well to our hosts, the MOTHs, for hosting us as they did last year. It's a cunning plan that we have to bring into a place with bars, so you can either go TT or you can do something a bit more substantial, whatever blows your hair back. So please enjoy. And in addition to the MOTHs, and before I forget, thank you very much to Tim for being our counsellor, for guiding us in many processes. There are times where we are at something of loggerheads, but I think it's always for a healthy reason and a healthy outcome. So, and I think that's the sort of community we are. We can debate, we can challenge, we can disagree, but ultimately it's about the community and growing the community to be the best that it can be with the resources and the people and so on that we have. So thank you very much to everyone who's helped to make that happen. I also just wanted to say that the last year that we've been the committee for Praboa has, for me, been personally a very difficult one work-wise. It's just the commitments that I've had have largely taken me away from this focused work. And really this community has been carried on the shoulder of every one of the committee that sits here today. Far less on me than on them. So I want to reiterate that. I want to thank them very, very much for holding things together when I really had focused largely elsewhere. It really cannot go unsaid just how grateful I am for that. It's been difficult. There are always challenges, there are always limited resources, and they really have stepped up to the party. And I think beyond the responsibilities of Parkhurst, this committee has managed to juggle their own personal commitments, their business commitments. We're all short of time, and I really can't stress enough what a great job they've done within that limited period of time. As a result of this, we've taken more and more to drawing on professional resources where possible and where affordable. If we had unlimited pools of money, we could employ lawyers and town planners and architects and consultants and all sorts of people, but we don't. We try to make the best use of the resources at our availability, and I think it's proving to take some of the load off at least, especially in Gabriella and Kat's space. So thank you for the recommendations that we've received from everyone, and hopefully we're starting to see the benefits of those coming through, both in terms of your stress levels and in terms of the output that's generated. So thank you for that. I think balancing this community is a challenging thing to do. We need to balance the benefits of being in a residential community that has a thriving business environment as well. The business environment is a great enhancement to the community, but we need to make sure that the one doesn't overarch the other. So balancing the benefits, the impacts, the challenges to the community is something that we're constantly trying to achieve. And it's not only balance in the short term, sometimes there's an easy short-term fix that would perhaps have a medium or long-term disadvantage to it. And it's very hard sometimes to say no to a short-term benefit with a view to a longer-term outcome and precedent that gets set by a decision that is made. And I urge you, I think all, if you do have questions later on, to bear in mind, is my view and my perspective only a short-term one for what could be the likely outcomes of it being extended over time. And that's sometimes that what we have to do is sit and really judge, do we place precedence on the short-term, medium, or long-term outcome and what we're wanting to achieve? And sometimes in the short term, you're not seeing an outcome, but actually it's the medium to long term where you really do see a much better solution than the solution you might have seen had you just taken a very short-term and short-sighted decision about something. So, we've got people resources, we've got money resources, but that's it. I think we're looking very healthy. We're positive, we're just needing more capacity. So to all of the people who've helped, thank you, and for those of you who intend to help, thank you in advance. And apologies for any rain that might end up causing. I think under the circumstances of the year, it's been a challenging one for all of us. The team has really done a stellar job, and I think just with additional assistance, we could be so much better. So in advance of that. So I'd just like to go very briefly through each of the committee, and I don't know if you wish to stand up so people can see who you are. First of all, to Gabriella and Kath, thank you so much for the work that you've done. Also carrying on, I see Greg at the back for the very sturdy work that he started when he managed the portfolio, so I think it's a part of the legacy, so thank you for that. I think the sheer volume of time and technical expertise that they've donated to this community is enormous, and their role is really not something that you see value for in your daily life. You get up, you go to work, you come home. It's so that we don't have all manner of completely outsized and inappropriate, not even in a visual sense, but just ill-matched buildings and so on going on in this area. That's the sort of stuff that they try and stop before it started. Not to stop development, not to stop innovation and change. It's just to say whatever happens, let's make sure that it's of an appropriate scale and amenity that will enhance this community. So when something terrible doesn't get built next to you, it's largely because of the work that they've done. When something terrible in your eyes perhaps does get built, sometimes it's because that is what the law allows to happen, and sometimes it's because the city or whoever the decision makers were, disagreed with us. But really, a lot of their work doesn't get seen because you don't see what would have happened had they not done it. So to them, thank you very much. Vaughan, Finance. Thank you so much. Vaughan really has kept us on the straight and narrow. I think we're continuing to be a little more sophisticated around our finances, how we report on things around the audits that happen. I think taking on Sage.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm terrible with names, and this time of night is not doing anything to enhance that. But just those sorts of things that have been introduced and using them more diligently and being able to move money around and get projects and so on. It just is a million miles away from where we were probably even 5 years ago when at best we had an Excel spreadsheet, and before that I think we had a notebook. So there's been great advance, and it's just it's realizing that we have to spend some of the money that we have on infrastructure to make it better and more accessible to people, and Vaughan's continue to do that. Mr. Diamond, Chris, do stand. I think everyone knows Chris. Chris largely looks after legal and administration and is our very own in-house sort of risk manager and what if, and you better be sure that person. He's always the one who asks a question. He's our taskmaster, and although I think many of us have been pulled over the coals by Chris, myself included, many times, I think the value of what he does, again, is a risk mitigation thing rather than he has an issue that's obvious, let's deal with it. It's let's preempt and prevent. So Chris, thank you for that contribution. Where's Paul? There he is. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Erickson Park. He's buried in we all know Paul, just ever present, ever there, quietly very wonderful, phoning all the right people at City Parks and being able to control us in all manner of things that the rest of us pull our hair out about. So Paul, thank you. He sticks in there, he does it, and yeah, if there's anything you need regarding parks from an infrastructural perspective, Paul is absolutely the man to go to. Marius, Safe Parks. Marius's work is well known to everyone here. If you're on your street WhatsApp groups, which I hope you all are, it's really Marius that looks after the the balance between the safe park structure, which is there to deliver the service, the execution of the security initiative, and Praboa, which is what does the community want, what does the community need, and how to balance between the needs of the community and the operational realities of security and the costing and all of that sort of thing. So he plays a diplomatic role. It helps that he's able to portray and please say any psychologist here, you're going to shoot me, but a somewhat schizophrenic personality, being able to understand exactly who he needs to be for what purposes. And so I do have friends who are psychologists and I get very cross when I use that term colloquially. So apologies if that's the case here. But really Morris is able to straddle the gap between the two and to bring them as close together as possible. Is Kundai here? Okay, Kundai is our rep who actually works with Parkhurst Primary very, very closely. He arranges their careers days. He's done fundraising things. He has done all manner of work for the school, again, very quietly, very behind the scenes. Kundai travels an immense amount for work. I think he's out of the country far more than he's ever here. And as a result, he doesn't attend many committee meetings on the night. But the work that he has done with the school, with the principal, with the children has been extraordinary. And I really want to commend him. And if anyone has a particular interest in getting involved further in the school, Kundai is the man, and we can connect you. Absolutely. And as I said previously, to Tim, thank you very much, both for the guidance, for the debates, for the challenges, for the disagreements, for all of it. I think there's an acknowledgement to be made to the councillor who, in difficult circumstances over the past couple of years, hasn't always given us the answer we've hoped to hear, but it's always been an answer that's ended up being the appropriate one. So for that, thank you. So on that note, my report. Ryan. Oh, sorry, Ryan. I've got you here. Ryan, who's Ryan? Technical. He's here. He's on Ryan. Stand up, Ryan. I do have our general ideas and projects map. I didn't forget you. I just misread. I apologize. Yeah. So here's a man who's always got a plan. He's always got ideas. He always challenges our assumptions, being the economist that he is. And sometimes we have to rein him back, and sometimes he has to drag us forward, and we find a happy medium in the middle. And I think you can see we're a pretty one bunch. We've all got very different perspectives, but I think it's that diversity of vision that actually makes it an exciting place to be and a way to get things done. If there's one feeling a bit bullish and another one feeling a bit bearish, we tend to find the middle path and something that more or less works. So, assuming I've not forgotten someone else and I'm about to get shots, I think the only other people I do need to mention who are not here this evening are Jacques and his wife Lisa, who've been looking after the environment portfolio. They've been doing what they can. Both of them also have had an incredibly challenging year professionally, and personally they welcomed their second child to the universe about 2 months ago, I think. So Lisa did apologise that she can't be here. She's stepped into Jacques' position when he had to step down for business reasons, but really they do sit in the background, they do what they can, and I think at least we are all environmentally aware. I think Tim, given when he used to be on the Residents Association way back in the last millennium, and maybe a bit of this one, the fact that he was the environment portfolio holder, he also, I think, holds that thread together very healthily. So we're very fortunate about that. So on that note, I think that is my report done. We have had the reports of the portfolio holders up on the website, and we will have a question and answer session just after this, but I think I'd like just 2 of the portfolio holders just to kind of give us a very broad overview, perhaps to preempt some of the questions that might happen later. And that would be Vaughan and Marius, just to give us a 2-minute view of the most important and salient points of their portfolio. When we do get to the questions, I would like to say please keep it brief, no more than 2 sentences, and the last sentence must end in a question mark. And we don't want highly compound sentences either, with colons and semicolons and brackets and all of those sorts of things. So simple sentences, maximum of 2, short, and ending in a question mark. Those are our rules. We try not to be too going to grand bit of our rules, but we'd like to keep to those. So Paul, would you like to come up first, and then Mark?
Sure.
Thanks, Sharon. I'll just give you a brief overview of what the Praboa finances look like. The audited and signed financials are on the webpage. If you look at the trading, you'll see that the surplus for the year is probably just slightly less than half of what it was the year before. And that's really driven by the fact that the contributions coming in for safe parks are fairly static, and the main outgoing is the amount we pay to Cortac for the safe parks, for them looking after and making it safe parks. And that has gone up by almost the difference in the net surplus for the year. But having said that, we do have between the safety reserve and the general reserve over 1.2 million rand in reserves, and that is backed up with cash and cash equivalents. So it's not just a liability sitting on the balance sheet, it is real. And it is there for us to use. And to that end, amongst us on the committee, we've decided that the increases that are coming from Cortac will in fact have come already. They became effective on the 1st of September for a 12-month cycle to 31 August next year. We will not be passing on to any of the people who contribute to safe parks. And we will use that surplus for this year to cover that. I think the main reason for doing that is to obviously help everybody somewhat financially, but also to try and encourage more people to join safe parks, because that's really what we need to make this a viable financial proposition. So we'll do that for the year and see how we go against the reserves. We are also, and I don't want to steal any of Marius's thunder, but there will be some one-off safety measures being put in place over the festive season, and we'll cover that also out of the reserve. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, we'll sorry, I see there is a question. I think let's save questions just at the end of our formal process, but we'll happily take questions. I don't want to just do some questions now and then elections and then questions for the other things. We'll do those all.
Okay.
That's okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm not going to repeat, good evening, I'm not going to repeat my report because it's in our website, please go read it, there's a lot of detail in it. But it's fair to say that crime is rife in Johannesburg, not only in Parkhurst. And we like to complain and so forth, but it's a function of the economy and a lot of things. If we don't stand together, pool our resources and apply good quality experience, security company like Cortac for managing our public space, we are not going to win this battle. And unfortunately, there's only optimistically calculated 40% of Parkhurst contribute to this scheme. And that's just not enough. But the areas where people really manage to address crime are substantially much higher than that figure. So we need to make sure that our residents and our neighbors and everybody sign up and contribute to the scheme because we can apply more resources, please. That's important. As I said, we just love to complain, but we need to do something about it. We are happy with the relationship of Cortac. Obviously, we manage the service delivery of monthly meetings and daily meeting interactions. We pay them a fee, but we've got an agreement with them, and we address their performance. And as Cheryl said, the money decision is well laid down from Safe Parks Oversight Committee, and then also backed up our oversight. How much do we pay? As Boone said, we are not going to ask you guys to contribute more. We're using a bit of reserves and so forth because I think it's more important, as I said just now, that people come on board and support the scheme. And that's why we want to keep figures the same, but rather rely on a bit of growth in contributors. Cameras, quickly about cameras. Cameras are being talked about a lot. The cameras are good and bad. It's only part of the community security scheme. But suffice to say that we have got vehicles in the Cortac vehicles, cameras. We've got standalone cameras in certain spots. And we also have, after lengthy discussions, to sign up with Woomacam, and we're busy rolling out 14 poles already in Parkhurst. All count this is phase 1, and we've already defined phase 2 of them as well. 14 poles will probably average 4 cameras per pole, so that's quite a lot. Vehicle theft and cell phone snatching, it's unfortunately by far the biggest amount of crime in Parkhurst, and all of that could be avoided. People leaving their cars, and especially hot cars in wrong spots, stuff in their cars, cell phone snatching and forth. If you take that out of the stats, then it looks much better. And we need to address that. And this weekly newspaper, news flash will help you to tell you what you should do. The way forward, I think, is the most important thing is join your streets WhatsApp group. It's all about report as well, just repeating because it's so important. Support the safeguard PSD solution as well as contact as your armed response provider. Encourage your friends and neighbors, if they complain and moan about crime, to join the scheme. It doesn't help to say, but okay, I think competition is good, but I support an ineffective security company in that regard. Get up the weekly newsletter. If you walk out of here, don't get it. Contact Lynn via email, it's on our website and Facebook page, and make sure you get the weekly newsletter. Phone calls and special activities to the contact control room. They will log in, but will follow up. And use of meet and greet service, especially ladies at night. If you're a contact client or not, but obviously we would like you to be a contact client. And then many thanks for those who actually are our loyal supporters, probably the most of us who is. The last point I want to is we really need good, committed people to join our oversight committee. We've got a structured oversight committee to manage this, so we'll have to interview you and get to sign NDA and so forth because of all the confidential information is so good. But we need more resources. It's a big task, and we need to get good, more quality committed people. So please come and talk to me if you are prepared to join us in the army. Thank you, Cheryl. That's all.
Unless the committee feels there's any other order of business, we can take questions and then move on to elections.
Sarah, we've got a couple of items of business purely formal.
Would you like to
Can we
address? What do you want to do that before or after the questions?
Let's get as much as we can do before the questions.
Chris, would you come up?
All right. We've got two items of business. One is to approve the annual accounts. Is everyone going to approve?
Right, who proposal and second? Thank you.
Are you
Sorry.
both members?
Yes.
Good stand. Yeah.
Probably not. Depends how you define it.
All right, that's fine. We have. It is open to us to. Sorry, it's open to us to elect the auditors, but we normally leave it to the committee to appoint the auditors, but it is open to this meeting to appoint auditors if they want to. I have nothing against the auditors we're using at the moment, but it's just to keep flexibility and negotiating power.
So we should all vote on that as a committee then?
So the committee, yeah, the constitution
Yes.
is quite clear. This meeting can elect the auditors, and I hope would
So we will do that with the-
and I hope would do so if they think there is something unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
But
That's right. So we'll do that election with the committee.
so the
We'll take
committee,
questions
we
first.
won't do it, yes. Was there anything else?
The Constitution.
Oh yes. Thank you. I'm getting old. I put up on the website a proposed amendment to the Constitution, which the dearly beloved Revenue Service are imposing on us. Does anyone have any objection?
Well, it could be more exciting and say, who wants to challenge the revenue service? Or we could be pragmatic and say, do we agree to the request of the revenue service?
No. You've got it wrong. We're going to try to challenge the revenue service. They're entitled to every cent they're entitled to, and not a cent more. And look, really, this isn't going to alter anything, but they like it this way, and you only argue when you're going to win.
Okay, Chris, so we'll vote on that again after our questions. If you could maybe just come back. Say, it says this one, we needed to say that, yes, no, and then we'll vote on the orders as well.
However,
okay? Right, shall we take questions? You had a question.
Just in direct response to this report. What would the impact of that decision that the committee has made be on the reserves? Would it be 5%, 10%, 50% of the reserves?
At the moment, it looks like it will be between 7,000 and 10,000 a month that we will be subsidising. So over a year, that's 120,000. So yeah, about there. Of both reserves, but 20% of the safety reserve. But by the same token, we should, all other things being equal, not make some surplus on other activities. So that will help compensate somewhat.
I have a linked question in case anybody thinks I'm jumping ahead. This use of funds to cover an increase because it's going to get more people in. I don't understand how is that going to draw more people in? Because we're keeping it a lower amount? If they didn't do it last year, why are they going to do it this year?
Well, there's no guarantees. Your point is valid. But if we were to increase the contributions, our thoughts and feelings were that it would perhaps deter more people from joining. That's all. It's been seen as a negative point.
Could I supplement what
Sure.
Vaughan is saying? I think what we've also seen is we're aware of people's financial considerations, and you do expect people to drop off schemes. They join things, they leave things, and sometimes it's because they don't like them, sometimes it's because they can't afford them, and we can't see why. But we have been watching, as economic conditions have changed, to see, is there a trend that's emerging, and to see if we can help to stop or at least minimize the effects of a trend of people perhaps stepping back because simply of financial challenges that they might face.
Don't get me wrong, I'm deeply grateful, but
Sure. Yeah. But look, there's no guarantees.
I also just add that model is very conservative. We're still busy finalizing the negotiation with Port Tax. I don't think it's a huge.
Yeah, sorry, can I make one?
Okay.
Can I make a point on this? At the moment, our penetration, we've got about 40% of the residents of Parkhurst subscribing one way or another. If we were to increase it to 60%, then we would be able to reduce the monthly fees, not completely in proportion, but we wouldn't need 2 extra vehicles. Maybe we could do with 1 extra vehicle and some other extra services, so that in the end it would end up costing maybe 50 Rand, maybe 100 Rand per person less. Don't quote me on don't quote me on those figures. But this is what can happen. We pay Kortak for the services. This is the beauty of the thing. If we can get a higher proportion of residents, it would be cheaper. I can't promise how much cheaper.
Yeah, so-
Indeed, maybe all I can promise is that the price wouldn't go up so fast.
I think what Chris is saying, it's either, cost theoretically could come down or could add additional services. And depending on the condition of the economy and everything else at the time, we may opt to go one way or the other. More contributors gives us options, is the short of it.
So my question, I think, is linked. It's financial and it's quarter related. And as I noticed in the accounts, we've had a 31% increase in Safe Park's operating expenses. Now, is that an increase from Quartac or is that unrelated to Quartac's costs? Because that's substantial. Obviously, as we said, the revenue is pretty static. But that's, as you alluded to, well, that's where it would be wiped out from a surplus perspective. Sure. It's all down to the Safe Park's operating expenses.
Well, I think categories say that Quartax charges to us in that level of 31% on a like-for-like service. Because we added more services to the pot and like Christmas spending charge the previous year and so forth. Like-for-like the vehicle costs, if I had a guess here, so was probably 8% on average increase, which is inflation plus petrol and so forth. Our thing is close to 8%, max 10% if it, but the rest is all for additional services.
Yeah, it's ad hoc additional services, and that's where most of that goes.
What are they charging? Sorry, just ignorance, as you said, maybe Christmas in July was just an extra, but where's the remainder, where the rest of the ad hoc services coming from that aren't covered in terms of the Safe Parks, public service and public creation and stuff?
Well, there's additional cameras we were asking to purchase, install. It's a vehicle with cameras we installed on the vehicles, INPR cameras. It is undercover patrols we sometimes do, it's foot patrols and so forth. But as I said, the cost for the free roaming vehicles has been probably 1.8% per year. So we can all account for all of that.
Are the ad hocs, are they capital in nature, as you said, or are those now sort of an additional layer of fees on an annual basis?
They're all operational expenses.
Mostly operating, except for the cameras we bought them into their own.
So, guys, sorry, pointing out the obvious here, we've got 40% of Parkhurst that's involved with Quartac, and that's clearly a big flaw. I work in a commercial position, my wife works in advertising, but my question is, we all know that we need to sign up more residents, but where surely was surplus cash should be used to fund the increase in surplus cash should be used to do marketing and advertising to build those people from that sign up from 40 to 60%. And in my mind, in the business perspective, that's quite clear.
It sounded like you want to join us to help the
We desperately
marketing
need
companies,
a marketing person
you
on the
pay them
committee,
money for
so
having
please
second
help.
stoplets, if it's going to cost us $5 grand a month to get a lackey to come in and go hand out flyers and the robot, then let's do that. My thing is, let's pay money to get sign-ups. What was mentioned is that, maybe the guys who are selling the estates and selling the houses should have an incentive to actually be signing up those residents with the Safe Parks. It's all great and beautiful, and it's.
We absolutely hear your points.
We need to put those in there.
Sure.
Absolutely, Morris, do you want to talk
Yeah,
about
we
that?
regularly ask people to come and join us to help with marketing. If you look at our newsletters and stuff like that, every time we ask us, we've had one or two people who said, but we've had nobody ready to put down and help
Is that
us.
free of charge or with an actual?
Well, I would think a resident in Parkhurst should be able to willing to do pro bono, because we all work pro bono.
Sorry, I had to interrupt you. With funding increases, where it should be the other way around, we should be using surplus cash to do heavy marketing and heavy incentives for people to sign over. Sorry, you want to change over from ADT? Well, then offer them 3 months free with Quartac. Use those surplus cash to fund that person who signs up. Sorry, these are small ideas, but they work.
Sure, like I say, if you want to come and join us and help us execute these great ideas.
I think it's a very valid point. But at the time, the decision was made that we thought the best form of advertising was to look after the people we had already. And maybe word of mouth would help us get more.
Can I, someone raised this with me on the phone today, and I was brutally frank and critical of ourselves. You have an excellent committee, but there is no one on the committee who has the flair for marketing. If someone can come and join the committee with that kind of flair, we need to do it, and we needed them last year.
Yeah, okay,
Please volunteer. You've got a very, very good committee, you've got a very, very good scheme. Now volunteer.
Okay, I think we've discussed, Michael, I'll come to you now. I think the point is well made, and that's I'll come to you now, but what I just want to say is we have certainly mulled over this over the past couple of years, and there are huge debates around commission things and ethics and all manner of things. Marketing is 169% not my skill set at all. And for various reasons, we've contemplated getting somebody in. We're currently in a thought continuum around actually trying to get a deeper and more formal and professional understanding of the issues as they are versus as they're perceived. That's going to come out over the next probably 6 months or so. It's a long process that needs to happen. So, it's not that we don't acknowledge that these things could happen. We need people to help execute. The people who are on the committee are stretched to capacity. There are 3 questions. One, Michael, Natalie, you, and then if I come back to you at the end, and that's quite a lot. I will just forgot, Michael, we said first.
I think following the points being discussed, the surplus that you have at some point to consider hiring outside consultants.
Yes.
So I get the response.
Yes.
Be on the side, are you volunteering? Do you want to volunteer? We can ask. But at some point to go, we're actually going to hire a consultant, whether it's on a short, certain basis on, to actually try and have it in place. If you follow the idea, there's a lot of ideas, but don't hire someone. And as opposed to waiting to find a volunteer. There's lots of marketing people. I can also come up with 5-10 quick ideas. But am I going to go and hand out the flyers?
No, we actually, that is something that we've had. Sorry to interrupt.
The hiring of a consultant as opposed to always waiting for
No, that is absolutely part of the 6-month thing. It actually was in our calendars, and we had to postpone the meeting session. So that's actually in our plan for the moment. If I can go, sorry, I think it's Natalie, I think.
Sorry, so I'm just understanding the floor giving you a mandate to spend some money on marketing, which is part of your planning. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's all about the underlying information, and we've got to be persuaded in terms of whichever type of consultant we might get, be it a town planning person or a legal person or anyone else. We've got to understand that service would add value. We're not going to employ a consultant in case maybe it could perhaps add value. I think that's an important thing. Then we were Colin. Next.
Well, thanks. I've tried logging, but there's no street lights in 4th Avenue several times.
Right.
No, sorry, now, could other people also do it? No, please, question mark. Any reference?
Okay.
What the reference is?
Yes, you could. Please all log street lights up when you see them, even if it's not your own street.
But it's actually 4th Avenue. I mean, it's a security issue.
No, absolutely.
That was a statement from the police.
It was. Sorry, was that somebody? Yes, I've got you. Glenn, I think you're next. And as well. Glenn.
I just want to say it's difficult to give people their time because they do have one other commitments. I'll give them my time again to Marius if we want to schedule a marketing workshop. I am a marketer as well. I've been a reservist for 14 years. I've served in the CPF, I've served in State Box. So it is easy to volunteer as well. But I'm happy if you want to put a workshop together and ask the only volunteer for the workshop, you come up with a plan, it's implementable, and we work out and take it forward. It might be that we ask you for 2 hours of time.
Okay. Lynn, thank you.
Okay, I'm part of the 60%, mainly from an empathetic point of view, as Anita knows and Cheryl knows. So it's just a case of me making a switch. But when I look at it, I say to myself, I totally appreciate what Marius does, I totally appreciate what everybody does. I live here in 16th Street. On our WhatsApp group, hardly a week goes by that there is not a car stolen outside somebody's house. Now, we are aware of this, that people do not have off-street parking. So your car can be clean, it can be everything, but if you have a small car, you've probably got a more than 50% chance that it will be stolen. Now, I have quite a lot of time on my hands. I have been in sales and marketing, as you know, and I would happily go around with pleasure, knock on people's door, chat to them, and persuade them along with myself to join. But I have to know, how can I say to people, you know, how do we stop the cars being stolen? What can we do street by street? Because this is what the residents, the people living in the streets, this is what we feel. You know, that, and it's horrible not knowing that somebody comes to visit you if they're still in the car when they come out. And that's taking nothing away from what Marius is doing and the group is doing. But is there a solution?
And I think that's an important thing. You know, we all know intellectually that safe parks, cameras, fences, booms, you know, landmines, whatever we choose to do, none of that is a 100% confirmation that we will never have crime. It does continue. I'm not poo-pooing stuff. It just, crime does happen. It is awareness. It's all of those sorts of things. Those concerns are very valid. And I think perhaps the more that if you interact with them, I think your answers will emerge. But it's, you do need to acknowledge that, you know, because a car is stolen, that doesn't equate to safe parks is not working, or it's not adding sufficient value.
Exactly, yeah. But try and tell your neighbours that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then we have a question at the back. Again, if you can be, was it? No. Oh, yes.
Changing the subject slightly, I went to an environmental meeting in Parktown North about the body favours for refusal, which is quite an alarming meeting. And I see that it's not necessarily on the agenda. I don't know if it's appropriate, but is there anything that we can get some information on the update of what's happening with our trees and the impact to our environment? We'd like to leave the suburb and we'd like to keep it, but I understand that looking at the signs that about 80% of the trees in Parktown North are going. Is there anything happening?
Yes, I think just answering in Lisa and Charles' absence, is we've largely been interacting with Tim in terms of what the city's program is for that. Individual streets have been looking at different potential solutions. You know, there is no magic pill that will sort the whole thing out. Just in the office park where I work, for example, they had somebody come in, and this person's advice was keep your trees as healthy as possible. So even if they do get infected, I don't know how or why, but that might be able to keep the tree alive. If it's hollowed out on the inside, I'm not a botanist, but that seems unlikely. But you know,
chicken soup for the tree.
Yeah, maybe that.
Is there going to be a program like they do in Parktown?
No, so we're working basically with whatever the city does. A person in my street where we have had a sort of a spraying thing that's organic and healthy and all of those sorts of things. She has put up her hand to perhaps lead a project to do that sort of thing. But, you know, it's a potential solution. We don't know that it is the solution. It requires people to buy in. We all contribute. You know, at first it was going to be, I think, 600 Rand each in our street. By the time people knocked on their neighbours' doors and persuaded them, it came down to 330 or something like that for, I think, a 3 or 4 spray session, and then we'll assess again to see what the trees are like. So, in a sense, it's quite nice that people are trying different types of solutions in different streets so that we can see what it looks like. But, you know, nobody has an answer for this. So please, if you'd like to get involved, we'd love that. Anyone else? Yes?
Yeah, so I think it's linked to your issue. So this is probably directed at you, although possibly unfairly, because I think there's quite a big load. I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but the suburb is falling to pieces. But it actually is. There's any contractor that the city appoints fucks it up, pardon my French, and leaves a terrible mess behind. They've replaced cables, the street lights still not working months later, but if you go and look at the work that's been done on the cables, there's loose shit hanging everywhere. They've dug up the roads for the pipes, and they've left an absolute mess. It's been months. And to my understanding, you are the link, and I understand it must be very frustrating, but surely there's something as Praboa, there can be some kind of pressure to help Tim. There's got to be something, because the suburb is literally falling to pieces.
Yeah. I absolutely hear you, and I think that is the challenging thing. We all know, structurally speaking, a councillor is not there to fix problems. They're there to be a conduit, to be your mouthpiece, to be all of those sorts of things. We're living in an environment where infrastructure is stretched way beyond capacity. It's not being well maintained. It hasn't been well maintained. It largely isn't.
I'm not saying, I understand.
Yeah.
If we all accept that our roads are buggered and they're going to be buggered for 30 years, but when the contractor is appointed,
absolutely.
It's absolutely fixing it.
Yeah, I think there are tiers of responsibility, and this is something of not a pleasant will, but it's not a pleasant thing. We all have responsibility. We live in a democracy, we elect our representatives and so on. It's a representative thing, but that doesn't take away our responsibility for keeping the city or whoever needs to do things informed, to hold them accountable, to log things, to say come and fix them, and when they haven't, after the 2 or 3 or however many days or weeks or months, to elevate that to Tim with the relevant reference numbers and that sort of thing. So it's hard work, we've got to keep doing this, and it's an admin task, and it's boring, and why should we have to do it? They should have a process in place that sees to it, that their contractors do the jobs that they should be doing. But as we've seen, that is not always the case. So we have to keep on top of it. We need to keep our records, and then we need to elevate as best possible, consistently and concisely. And then I think also, if you do see work being done in your area, make a note of who's doing it. Perhaps make a note of the car registration numbers, that sort of thing, which helps to identify the actual individuals who are perhaps deployed by the contractors. Yeah. We shouldn't have to do any of this.
Yeah, I'm literally tried this.
That's not true. Any big contract, like the guys doing the pressure project on First Avenue, they actually have a CLO. So you just got to drop me an email and I'll give you a CLO.
That's a chief liaison officer.
Community liaison, which is what Part-Time North are using with them, because it's mostly in Part-Time North, not on the Parkhurst side. And so they escalated, there's a sunken reinstatement in somebody's driveway, so they've gone back and they did it again today. So what needs to happen is somebody in First Avenue, where the work is being done, liaises with the CLO, and then you can get those kind of things done. Same thing down in Third Avenue. So the same thing, you liaise with CLO, and then you can get things done, you can then escalate it. But the one problem with that one is it's actually a pilot. Nobody's ever done this before, where the reason it's so delayed is because it's a pressure project, not just a pipe replacement project. So the whole thing is linked to pressure. There's huge pressure valves, there's swimming pools that they've dug in the roads. With Fifth and Sutherland, I think there's another one now going into, they've probably done some studies and found that they need 3 or something. And then it carries on into, this is Councillor Huggett here. It started in her ward, because it now goes over, it's a big thing, and I think it was too big for them, they struggled. And that's what I think has happened. It's more to
leaving, or it's still ongoing?
No, it's still ongoing.
In the long run, it will be fantastic.
It's because it'll mean we're in a
Burst pipes.
pipes and stuff. So we just got to put up with it, but when you do see, like for instance, there was after the second lot of rain, not this last one, the one before, it elevated, dug out it washed away all the soil. So again, we escalated to that, so at least people could get inside.
Are they also responsible for sidewalk extension
when it's all finished?
When it's
finished. Nothing's going to get redone until then. And then guess what? We're going to get maybe First Avenue West, if we're lucky, will be resurfaced. But then guess what? Somebody will come along and dig that up for something else. This is the problem. The entities all operate in silos, and there's no. We're trying very hard as councils to try and get them to work together and to do stuff together. And it's very difficult, but we probably are going to win, but it's taking time. The same thing with the ABC, the cables they're putting in. It's going to make a difference in terms of it will reduce cable theft of the cables, but it is, unfortunately, it's messy. If you've got a Bagari, you'll see it's like spaghetti at the top there. I don't know why they're doing it neatly. I don't know, it's contracts, it's not run by a depot, it's run by somebody else. I don't know, the best we can do is, again, when they're in your street, go speak to them, find out who, get the cell number of the person in charge, so when something happens, it's fine. My street has been fine, or my little street has been fine. Other streets, they haven't connected the earth properly, so everything's blown up.
And of course, when we had the rains, that was one of the problems with, because it just been done, so it then caused a lot of shorts. But this latest rain we had in the weekend, those shorts and things were now ironed out. So it's going to be better in the long run. What we do have to watch out for is what happened in the Gary and Greenside. Is it's not the cable theft of the actual cables, but each pole has a great big fat, lovely piece, about 6 meter, 8 meter long length of copper. And that's what they're going for now in the Gary and Greenside. So we need to keep our eye on all that kind of thing, because that's getting stolen next.
Lights will help. Lights will help.
Well, the lights are separate to all of that. They're not part of that. And the problem with the lights is they're very similar to the traffic lights, in that it depends on the cabling of the lights itself. Also, when it gets wet, I think when I became a councillor back in 2011, I considered the committee for city power and oversees them. And 50% of all the brand new timers that we brought in stopped working as soon as they were put in because they were bad quality. So we've got all of that heritage and old stuff to worry about. So, a lot of our lights are working, but not in the day. They're just not at night. Because of the load shedding we had the other day, it's not a sync. And we are finding, I would say, Randburg, the street light teams seem to be okay. But here in Hurstville with our depot, they are not working, and every single councillor is moaning about it. We're now asking questions of the MMC, we're asking questions of the MD, and we're having meetings with the senior officials at Hurstville to find out what's going on. And these are the kind of things that are so frustrating. So we actually have 2 dedicated streetlight teams, but they're not doing the work. I think they've been expropriated because of all the outages recently to actually do outage work and not streetlight work. There should be dedicated streetlight work. Randburg is fantastic. The depot there, it was terrible a year ago, but they are fantastic. And the councillors there are very happy. The councillors around here are not happy.
It's too much shopping by cable now.
So these are the issues that really need is if you can take control of this, just in your street, say who is it, what are we doing, Tim, this is not working, this is a problem, and I can escalate to the depots, to MPCs, to various people for that, much as Leanne does from Parktown North with the pressure project that's been going on, in First Avenue.
And I think it allows us to keep good records as well. It's tedious, but it's important.
Some resident associations, they actually have a different setup. They have a roads person, and a water person, and a pick-it-up person, and a parks person. We have a parks person. And those people liaise with the entities themselves and build relationships. So there's an electrician in Legari who's fantastic, and that's what he does. But it's a labour of love because the streetlight's always going on.
Is it not worth us doing that in Parkhurst?
It is, but manpower. If you wanted to have set up, when I was an environment person, that's kind of what I did. I was looking at the block drains and the stormwater and the trees. That was my thing. To pick it up bins. So if you want to get involved in that, that's fine. You can even log in on the committee. Just like have a little group.
As a co-opted.
As a section on the committee where we can.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think the mechanics around how to make that happen, let's take offline after this meeting and the practicalities of that. We've got questions from Greg and from Gleb again.
I want to ask 2 questions. Like, what about neighbouring suburbs are getting all the streets retarred? Yeah. Are we likely that happens?
No, they're not really. They're not really. A few are, we're getting 1 in 7. There's 1 in. They're not really getting retarded.
I've seen a lot in Craigle Park and Greenside.
Greenside was 4 years ago.
And then
sorry, can I answer Tim? I remember all these conversations because I took my car lots of that we are so delayed that it was supposed to be 2019 and it's probably only going to happen in 2021.
Yeah. Look, as an example, I got a list of reinstatements that we're going to do this year, and most of them are all no budget. But then I look at it and there's 7th Avenue, and they've got it today, 7th Street, and it's no budget, but they're doing it. And Northfold Avenue in Saxonwold, no budget, but they're doing it. JRA is such a mess at the moment.
The other question is why are we still buying street lights from China?
Okay, we're getting to a level of detail that perhaps is not up. Greg, if I may just take a girl's question and then I'll come to you. Sorry.
I just want to know, I can't find the stuff on the web, but I just want to understand, have the Womatel lights, the security, have they actually been put up? The cameras? Are they up?
Some have.
And what is the result of that?
Marius?
Sorry,
where Womatel cameras have gone up, have we got an indication of
How many
impact
have
on
been,
crime?
how many are actually functional, and what is the result?
Well, they've only been rolled out fairly recently, as we said in our newsletter. We signed up with 40 poles. They're not all active, and mostly because of power connectivity issue. As you know, there's a embargo or an issue between Womatel and the city about powering up some of these poles. To date, I know that 6 poles are active already. The other 8, they need to get permission to power them up. And then as phase 2 is going to have the same challenge. But Womatel is fairly optimistic that they made a lot of progress in resolving the power or connectivity issue with the city, which will then hopefully speed up the process.
So how long have they actually been functional?
Well, a few weeks. As you see in our newsletter, we've communicated.
I tried to find the newsletter and I actually wrote, I couldn't find the security section, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, so a few weeks that they've been up. So, and they are working with our other AMPR and overhead cameras as well. But yeah, we've had some successes, and any successes we've got, we will publish in our newsletters. We will not tell people which cameras are doing what because that is way too confidential. If you want to get involved in that type of detail, then you should join the other side committee because that's classified information.
Thanks, Marius. Greg, sorry for keeping you waiting.
And for the edification, we only pay for cameras that work.
Yes, thank you. Greg.
Okay, you covered street lights. It took me 6 months to get one block of street lights on. Yes, as Tim says, they now shine during the day. Okay. I'm looking around quite a bit, taking shortcuts in Parkhurst, there are a lot like this that I've been doing. Now, there's a limit to us being a DIY suburb. Other ward councillors and I could use the website, speak out on mobile, register, do this, do that. I understand we've got to fight for our own battles. When it comes to a thing the size of street lights, I think either yourself or you've got 3 ward committee members to make a street light project for Parkhurst or Park Council or whatever, get these things switched on. It is really, very distressing and very scary for people. We were forcing a woman in my block to have street lights for 6 months. And as far as the overhead wires are concerned, 2 weeks to change them, 2 explosions. We were on and off for 2 weeks, localised them for the street. 2 explosions. I don't know how qualified the people are, the subcontractors, but just to move on to something else with infrastructure. The meeting 2 weeks ago, Tim, you'll remember what it was called in the City Hall, the people I did tell the town, the parking secretary centre. They came and they asked various questions about what would we really like. I found the meeting, I know you guys definitely know you about somewhere else. I found the meeting terribly infantile. And the guy rang and asked me, he said, what would you really like for your suburb? I said, I'll tell you what I really like. I know on good authority, we are a top rate-paying suburb. We're in the top echelon of payers of money. But we're in the bugger all end of getting service from you guys. There's never money, there's never this, you guys don't burn, you have this problem, that problem.
Question.
And I believe this is something that's going to be taken to them and said, we do need to reward the people who pay the council.
To try to get into trouble with the mayor.
No.
So unfortunately.
Okay, I think we need a question.
Just a quick.
That I want you to do. I want you to act on it.
So the mayor has gone.
There'll be another mayor.
And the new mayor will be more service delivery orientated in the areas where the money is collected.
We need to be rewarded for how we pay.
That's
Okay,
that's why he's gone.
Thank you. Yeah, can we take one more question? question there, and I do think we need to move on to the election so that everyone can get home and have supper and do what they need to do. Is there another question at the back? Do you have another one? All right. Would you like to?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Derek Wood. I'm known as the old bull of this establishment, which is the MOTH Hall. It stands for Memorable Order of the Tin Hats. We're a group of veterans. You can see on the walls, this is a veteran organisation, so we all represent some of these units here. But we do hire this hall out. It is for hire. So if you guys want to hire it for parties or birthdays or whatever, or celebrations, we had a wedding here 18 months ago, and it was really nice. They put drapes up against everything. It was fantastic. So you're welcome to get my number afterwards and my email address if you want to. We can chat further. Chris knows me, and he knows Kenny Swartz, who was the old bull here. He's now stepped down. I've taken the position. So, and then on a Saturday we also open this establishment from 1 o'clock. So if you want to come and support the bar, bring meat. You can buy here as well with us. And yeah, nice to meet all of you and come join us.
I want to
The real Parkhurst resident.
I don't live in Parkhurst, which is a pity. I'd like to. It's a nice area to live in, but we are part of this community, and we'd like to also, as we've opened it up for you guys tonight, we'd like to say come back and support us.
Thank you.
And in case you're like me and you don't make a note of phone numbers or details, they have a nice sign outside giving their phone number, telling you phone, I think it's Ken actually, if you want to rent this hall. So your number's outside, you can just drive past.
We'll discuss the rates with you when you call it. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Yeah, and I think it's a great institution to support. I mean, you know, not many people sort of realise what we've got around here, just have a look. Yeah, all sorts of interesting things in there. And I remember that you had the museum on as well, so thank you for that. Let's get on to the election portion, and then you can either stick around, have a drink at the bar, or get home. Okay, first order of business will be the auditors. I think we'll go by show of hands. The option is either to suggest and then elect an auditor to do our financials for the next AGM, or to leave it to the committee to make the decision as to who the auditors ought to be.
And I just propose that we leave it to the committee.
Okay.
Yes,
those who support leaving it to the committee, please raise your hands. If everyone's in agreement that that's the majority, I think that's what we should go with. Okay. Chris, around the changes to the Constitution, do you want to give a 1 minute overview?
No, I've opened my big mouth enough.
Do we accept
the changes?
Do we, per Chris's proposal, do we accept the changes to the Constitution required by SARS?
Yes.
Those who do.
What is the change to the proposal?
They are on the website.
Yes, I'm not currently reading. Please tell me.
Administrative things.
They are administrative issues which SARS require to comply with the provisions of Section 30 of the Income Tax Act. The whole point of our thing, putting them up on the website and the details on the website and the Constitution allowing this is to avoid a vast amount of time being spent on reading them.
Yeah, no, we understand that, Chris. Is it something it goes
it's an extremely technical lot required in terms of Section 30 of the Income Tax Act, the way essentially what the association must not do because of the way of benefits that the association gets in terms of the Income Tax Act.
I think that from memory, and it was a while back that we had to do this, it was essentially around the fact that we are running a public benefits scheme and the communal safety. We accept the changes as required by SARS in terms of the tax burden and the nature of the organisation being for public benefit. All in agreement that we accept, please raise your hands. Thank you. Let's take this part. And in the last order of business, I think that we need to do, in terms of our constitution, we have, of the 7 people who currently are on the committee, 6 of them will remain. We've got a 2-year cycle to ensure sort of corporate memory, for want of a better term. And drawn by lot, only 6 people can carry over to the next year, and 1 needs to step down and make themselves available for re-election. And I think we'd also like to propose that Gabriella formally joins us, because she's been co-opted onto our committee and has added enormous value. And Paul was the one drawn out of the hat. So, and Paul is happy. So first of all, so we do have Paul and we have Gabriella. We're entitled to elect 2 more people, but we can co-opt more than that. So whilst we can only have 10 people formally elected onto the committee, we can co-opt many more than that. But is there anyone who is offering their services formally to be elected?
Michael Rochelle, who's here, he's to go to some many things.
Okay.
Okay, and then also Richard Foxcroft from the
from the t-shirts.
From the t-shirt shop.
Okay, so then there is a trader. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't accept Michael unless he gave his written consent.
Oh my God, really? No, genuine. Well, then let's go.
Serious?
No, that is
It's a legislative thing.
It's fine. Okay, well, let's
Okay, well, what we shall do.
Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me, please listen. That's what the Constitution says.
That's fine.
If he's enthusiastic, there will be no trouble in co-opting him. But if he's not here, we need a written consent.
Okay. All right. So what we certainly do is co-opt. In the failure of the late submission of written consent.
Did I hear you volunteering?
Can he text you? That would be
lovely.
Seriously, really nice. He left. He said, "I'm good. Anything."
Okay, no problem. I think if he can text you, we will accept that as written. Accept it. All right.
Can I nominate Boomy?
Do you?
Simi?
Can you text him and ask him?
What's your surname, Boomy?
Yeah, I mean, if I could say that Kumi's been instrumental in helping with our town guys on Fourth Avenue, she's been a really great credit.
Even a video on YouTube.
Okay, fantastic. So we've got Paul, we've got Gabriella, we've got Mike almost, and then we've got me at the moment, and then we've got certainly Richard. I think will be good. Are there any objections to any of the re-elections or nominations? Any objections? Right. And then in terms of the new elections, Paul who stepped down, Gabriella, Mike, subject to receipt of written confirmation by text message of some form, and Pumi.
Can we vote them all?
I beg your pardon?
Can we vote them all?
Yes.
Yes.
Is anyone? And I think that concludes our order of business. If there are any other questions for any members of the committee, please approach them directly. I'm sure Tim will make himself available if necessary. And let's just hear what Mike has to say before I close. Yes? Can you send us a text message? I beg your pardon? Text. Okay, right, so subject, thank you, text message. Okay, thank you all. I hope I haven't kept you too long.